A warm welcome to one and all. Today we'll be dealing with some basic terminologies used in engineering economics and then time value of basic introduction about time value of money. In the previous class, I have already shared you the notes on few of the terms and few of the terminologies used in engineering economics, like what is microeconomics, macroeconomics, what is the difference between those things, okay, and what are the principles used in the engineering economics. Those things are already being shared with you. And in continuation with this, where we're supposed to deal with some numericals in the economics, so and be dealing with those terminologies here which are there in the numerical, which will like come in a numerical form. Okay. So first we should understand the present worth, present value or principal amount of any item or any object. Okay. They all represent the same thing. They all represent the value of the money at a time zero, which is the beginning of the engineering economic analysis period under investigation. Okay. If I am purchasing an equipment today, then the value of that particular equipment, that is called as a present worth or the present value of the equipment. Certainly, after some years, the equipment will have different value. Okay, maybe of course, as far as equipment is considered, it will be having lower value than the present value. That is because of depreciation. Okay, at the same time, you need to understand the what I mean to say is, if I consider any object, maybe an equipment in the construction, or maybe I am keeping some amount in the bank. Okay, right now that is time zero. What is the worthiness of that particular object at time zero? That is called as present worth or present value or the principal. It's being generally it's being represented with either PW or PV, P or P naught. P naught is the principal at zero time. Okay, they all indicate sum of the money at time zero. That is the present worthiness of any object or anything. It's better to call it as a thing. Okay. Similarly, future worth or the future value. It represents the future sum of the money, including principal plus interest. Okay, future value is it represents the future sum of the money, including principal and then the plus interest. Principal is the amount or the present value at or the value at time zero. Say like time always there's a value for the time. Okay, it's called as time value of the money. Okay, so as and when with the interest, the worthiness of the present value will keep on increasing because of this interest. So that future value occur at any point in the time, future. Okay, and they are usually designated as the end of the engineering economic analysis period, if they are the last activity to occur in the analysis period. The future worth of present values and payments and disbursement streams includes interest on the money invested and or withdrawn from an account. Okay, now what you need to remember is there are two things with the future value. It can be increased value, it can be a decreased value. If I am keeping some amount in the bank, because of the interest, 100 rupees kept now with interest, after 5 years, 5 years with a particular given interest rate, it will be more than 100 rupees. At the same time, if say just an example, if I am purchasing something, say some electronic thing I am purchasing for 100 rupees, then the value of that particular electronic thing after 5 years will be certainly lesser than the present value. So you don't be under a confusion that future worth is always going to be greater than the present worth. Not like that. Okay, it all depends on the thing what we are discussing. Basically, we talk of when we talk of interest, we are interested with the amount being kept. So this is how the present and future value represent. If I have some present value of anything as P after one period, maybe a month, maybe a week, maybe a year, with a interest rate of I. Okay, what you get after that period is P plus I. I is called as interest amount, and small I is called as interest rate, and P plus I is called as the future worthiness or the future value of the thing. Third is annuities. I'm just introducing you the term or uniform series. An annuity is a series of payments made at equal intervals, maybe daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. In the sense, an example is if we have taken loan from the bank, so we are supposed to pay back to the bank maybe on monthly basis. Okay, so every month we will be paying to the bank. That is an annuity. That is an example of an annuity. Okay, so annuities are those things which are being paid, which is they are the series of payments made at in equal intervals of time. Uniform series, usually at every interval of a time the same amount is being paid. That is an annuity. Next is salvage value. The salvage value is what an asset is worth at the end of the useful life. In engineering economic analysis, the salvage value is represented by the future value occurring at the end of the analysis period. As I told you, when we talk of equipment, we don't call it as a future value, rather we call it as a salvage value. But technically, salvage value is nothing but the future value of that thing. But what happens is it will be reduced. If I keep the same amount in the bank, the value will be increased. So that is not called as a salvage. But this is for a thing. Maybe here I'll just restrict to construction equipment. Okay, so salvage value is always going to be lesser than the present value. Sunk cost. It is very difficult concept to be understood, but it represents funds not recoverable because they have already been expended or spent on that particular equipment in a given period of time. Okay, this is known as the past cost of an equipment or an asset. And remember, your sunk cost is a present value is always going to be lesser than the, sorry, it's always going to be greater than the sunk cost. Next, interest and interest formula. We'll try to understand interest. What is the meaning of interest? The term interest is used to designate a rental for the use of a money. Fundamentally, rental paid is essentially interest over the capital. Okay, it's a rent. It's like in common words, it's a rent for the given amount of a time. Given amount for a given interval of a time. That is called as an interest. And an interest rate, it is the ratio of the given received amount from an investment over a period of time, usually 1 year. And the investment is usually taken as like this is generally defined for rupees 100. Interest rate is generally defined for rupees 100. Say generally what we call as interest rate of 10%. What do you mean by this? It means for every 100 rupees we are supposed to return it extra 10 rupees there. 10% is 10% of 100 is 10 rupees. Okay, so we need to pay it back extra 10 rupees. Okay, that's why it's easy to express in percentage. So that's why we express it for rupees 100, and it's always being designated as small I. Next is time value of a money. Time value of a money means that two equal amount. Say I have 100 rupees right now. Even after 5 years, I have 100 rupees. Are they same? Okay, if I keep the same 100, they are definitely they are not same. If I keep the same 100 rupees in a bank, because of the interest, I will be getting more value than the 100 rupees. So what I mean is 100 rupees at present time is not equals to 100 rupees after certain period of time, maybe after 1 year or maybe after 2 years. Okay, so that is the time value of the money. It's a relationship between interest and the time, and it leads to a concept called the time value of the money. Okay, they do not have equal. I just try to give you an example here. I have 100 rupees. Say this is my x-axis, and these 1, 2, 3, 4 they represent the year. This I'm taking time in years now. Okay, let us say interest rate is 10%. I'm keeping it in a bank here. Then what will happen to this 100 rupees after 1 year is it is 100 plus 10% of 100, that is 110. Okay. Similarly, after 2 years, what will happen is it's 110 plus 10% of 110. So that will be 121. Like this, if I calculate this at the end of fourth year, okay, I will be having some different value, maybe around 140 or 144 something. Okay, but it is not equals to 100. That's what I mean to say. present values at 0 time 100 rupees is not equals to the same value after 4 years. It will be different because of this interest rate. Okay, that depicts a time value of the money, and whatever this typical type I am showing you, it's called as a cash flow diagram. I will explain you later. Okay, now there are basically two types of interests what we may have to deal it in the market, that is simple interest. Okay, whereas amount of simple interest, IT can be calculated using P and I by 100, whereas P is your principal amount, N is number of years, I is interest rate. Okay, P is principal amount, number of years, and then interest rate per year. I is the total this capital I is your total investment. Now, because of this interest, your present value P will be having future value F, which is equals to P plus I. Okay, this is the relation. Let me take an example. I've just taken it from some textbook here, where I'm trying to explain you the compounded interest here. If I'm having at the 0 time as 100 rupees, and say my interest rate is 15, as you mentioned interest rate, yes, interest is 15 rupees, then at the end of 1 year this 100 rupees changes to 115. Okay, this 100 rupees changes to 115. Now because of this is being a compounded interest, this 15 again will change to some other value, 17.275. Okay, so now similarly this becomes 132.25. Next, for a third year, this becomes 152.09. This becomes 174.9. And later, at the end of fifth year, my 100 rupees, after 5 years, the future value will be 201.14. So this future value depends on what now? That you should express it. Your future value depends on the principal amount. Your future value depends on the interest, and your future value depends on the year, the number of its interest period, or the period of deposit. So all these factors are affecting your future value. Whereas the this formula can be written here: F is equals to P into 1 plus I raised to N, where F is the principal amount invested at time 0 and F is the future amount. We will derive this expression. The same thing in a tabular column, what is being shown here, I'm going to just show it in the form of a cash flow diagram. This is called as a cash flow diagram. At 0 time, I invested 100 rupees. Okay, so investment is negative here, that is, it is downwards, and I have an interest rate. Then at the fifth year, I am getting 201.14. This is the time value of the money. But here we are considering inflation as 0. We are not including inflation parameter. So basically there are different interest formulae to be used, whereas there are two types by which interest can be calculated, that is simple interest rate and then the compound interest rate. Let me define these. P is just some notations being used. P is the principal amount, N is number of interest periods, I is the interest rate, F is the future amount at the end of nth year, A is equal amount deposited in the end of every interest period. Okay, and G be the uniform amount which will be added or subtracted period after period 2 or 2 and 2 and 2 from the amount of deposit A1 at the end of the period 1. I will tell you later when I go to this formula. Okay, well, there are different types of interest periods like semi-annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, continuous. Okay, what the meaning of this is being expressed how many times in a year. Going to simple interest, we know this, the amount of simple interest is equals to PNI by 100, where IT is the total amount of the interest. Similarly, compound interest, your IT is equals to P into 1 plus I by 100 raised to N. Okay, so please remember these two formulae. This is the expression for simple interest. and this is an expression for compound interest. IT is equals to P into 1 plus I by 100 raised to n. We'll just take an example here. A person has taken a loan amount of rupees 1 lakh from a bank for a period of 5 years. Estimate the amount of money the person will repay to the bank at the end of 5 years for the following cases. One is, first case A is considering simple interest rate of 8% per year, and case B is considering compound interest rate of 8% per year. So amount of interest, now we'll discuss with case A. Amount of interest IT is Pn by 100. Your P is 1 lakh in the case, N is 5 years as mentioned, and interest is 8 divided by 100. So if you could simplify this, this becomes 40,000. Okay, this is the only interest amount, but at the end he will be paying to the bank of a sum of 1 lakh plus 40,000, that is 1 lakh 40,000 rupees. Okay, P plus this IT is the total amount repaid at the end of 5 years. This is by simple interest. Now if I go with a compound interest, whereas in the formula of the compound interest, it directly gives you the total amount paid. So IT is equals to P into 1 plus I by 100 raised to N. P is 1 lakh, 1 plus I is 8 divided by 100 raised to N. N is 5. So if you could simplify this, your IT happens to be in and around 1,46,932 rupees. Okay. So at the end of the 5 year, he will be paying, if compound interest is being considered, he will be paying around 1,46,932. Now, if you could look at both the figures here, your compound interest is always going to be higher than the simple interest. Next, go for the numerical 2. A person deposited rupees 1,50,000 in the bank for 1 year and got rupees 1,60,000 at the end of 1 year. Find out the total amount of interest and the rate of interest per year on the deposited money. Okay, what is the amount he gained? Is he deposited 1,50,000 and after a year he got 1,60,000. So how much amount is being gained in 1 year? It is 1,60,000 minus 1,50,000. So that is 10,000. He has gained 10,000 rupees in 1 year. Therefore, your interest rate will be this 10,000 divided by P. This 1,50,000 is P. Okay. The interest rate is always some percentage of your P value. So if you could calculate this, this happens to be around 6.67. So interest rate is approximately 6.67%. Now I'll just give an introduction about the cash flow diagram. Sometimes what happens is noting down all the cash flows for any particular organization, even for any particular equipment, it becomes very difficult. It is very complicated if I note down those things in some some book. It's very complicated. Okay, then it's better we could understand it easily with a graphical representation, and that particular graphical representation is called as a cash flow diagram. Okay, that particular graphical representation is called as a cash flow diagram, which summarizes the timing and magnitude of cash flows as they occur over the time. How does the cash flow diagram look like? This is how the cash flow diagram look like. Along x-axis we have a time, okay, and x-axis is being divided into certain points, and these points are your time periods. This is 0 time, this is after 1 period, after 2 period, 3 period, 4 period, 5th, and up to n. And along y-axis we have cash flow. Particularly along positive y-axis it is cash inflow, and along negative y-axis it is cash outflow. Okay, cash inflow, cash outflow. It is cash incoming, it is cash outgoing. So any value at one period, if I am representing with an arrow of certain amount here, it means it is an inflow to the company or to the organization, or it's also called as positive cash flows. These are positive cash flows. These are income, whereas this is a negative cash flow, so it is outgoing amount here. This is how a cash flow diagram looks like. Okay. With this basic introduction, I will end today's class, and again we will continue with the numerical and few other concepts as far as this engineering economics is considered. Thank you.